Hey everyone, welcome back to the Ktor Server Fundamentals playlist. In the last video, we covered rate limiting in Ktor. In this video, we will be covering various ways to handle responses in Ktor. We will start by learning how to send responses in Ktor, whether it's a simple text message or a structured JSON object. Next, we will see how to sort the file dynamically and even stream large file efficiently and ensure smooth delivery. We will implement file downloads using content disposition header. To improve our API, we will enable support for partial file downloads and automatic head responses, making file serving more efficient. We will explore how to set response status code, both standard and custom, to improve API communication and error handling. Together, we will learn how to modify responses headers, adding useful metadata like e-tag or custom headers. We will also see how to send cookies in our HTTP responses to store session data or user preferences. Finally, we will see how can we redirect to different routes. Now, let's begin by handling simple text response. So for that, let's create a get endpoint. Let's give it a root path and we can simply use call dot respond text. Within this, we can pass our text. Let's say hello world, and we also have option to pass content type. This content type is automatically detected by content negotiation plugin. Since we already have content negotiation plugin, we don't need to explicitly define the content type. But in case if you want to, then we can simply say content type dot text dot plain, since it is of type text, so we can say this. Also we can attach the status. We can simply say http status code dot ok, or you can choose among any of them. So for now we'll have ok. Let's quickly try this out. And once we make request, if we check the headers, we have the content type of text dot plain. In body we have hello world, and for status we have 200 ok. So that's it for simple text response. Now let's move to the JSON object response. So let's suppose we have a get endpoint and we want to return list of products. Yes, suppose this endpoint returns list of products. So for that, let's create a product like from our previous video. We already have a data class product. So now let's also create one more data class for the response. Let's say product response, and it will be responsible for adding both. Let's suppose we want to send a message as well, so we can attach a message as well as in data we can append list of this product. So now let's try this out. So we can use this product response. Let's say first we'll need to create this product response. So let's say response equals product response. Within this, let's say message will be, so let's say message is successfully fetched product. And for data we can have, let's create a list of size 10, and we can say each product is, let's say name equals apple, and price let's give it as 10, and for category we can have fruits. So this will create list of size 10 each item with this product description. So now we can respond with this product list response. So what we can say is we can simply say call dot respond, and we can simply response. Now let's quickly try this out. we can say products, make get request, and as you can see, like within our product response data class we have a message, so we get a message, and within data we have a list of products, so this list will be converted to a JSON array. Now let's suppose we want to stream files, so for that I have added two files within this uploads in a root package. Now if we want to stream them, so what we can say is we can simply create a GET request and give it a path stream. And let's suppose we get file name from query parameter. So we can say call dot request dot query parameters, and over here we can simply say file name, else in case it is null we can say empty string. We can create a file object, so we can say val file equals file, and for our path within this root we have a folder uploads, and within this uploads we have bunch of files. So let's suppose in query parameters we are getting file names for these files within this uploads. So for that, to access file within this uploads, our path will be uploads slash, and we can say file name. Now we can also add a check. If file doesn't exist, then we can simply return. Now if file exists, we can simply say call dot respond file and return this file. So now let's quickly try this out. We can say stream and pass query file name. Let's suppose we want to try image, so we can say image.png, since we have name of one image as image png and one video as video.mp4. We can simply send, and as you can see our file is being streamed. Now similarly for video as well, we can say video.mp4 and send. As you can see our video is streaming. Let's suppose instead of streaming we want to download these files. We want user to be able to download this file. So for that we can simply copy this stream route and we can change path to download, and to allow download we can simply add a content disposition header. So for that what we can say is we can simply say call dot response dot, and we can say header, and for name we will be using headers dot content disposition, and the value will be content disposition dot attachment dot with parameter, and within this parameter we will be passing file name parameter. So we can say content disposition dot parameters dot file name, and value will be this file name, so we can say file name. Now we can convert this to a string. So now we should be able to download the file instead of streaming. So we can quickly rerun our application. Here we have path stream. So now let's change it to download. And if we hit enter, we'll see no change in the postman. Now we can simply copy this and we can hit this in our browser. So let's suppose we hit something like this, and as you can see the file download is complete instead of streaming. So if we try the stream once, it will start streaming instead of downloading. Now for this streaming and downloading file, we have one more option to respond the file. So we can also respond file using the path of instead of creating the file object. So for that what we can say is we can, let's say we have a file from path route. Within here we'll be getting file name same like this from a query parameters. Using this file name we can create a path object. So we can say file path equals path from java neo.files. We can say of, and we can pass the path which is uploads slash file name. So now we are not creating the file object. So now we can also perform the operation like if file path dot exist. In case it doesn't exist, we can simply return with status of not found. We can return with status not found. Else what we can say, call dot respond, and we can say local path content, and we can pass the file path. So now without using the file object we are able to stream the file. So let's quickly try this out. We can both stream as well as download the file using this file path as well. So now let's quickly use this path, and we can see we are able to stream the file. You might have noticed that apps and websites shows the file size even before downloading the file. So for that they refer to the content length within the header of response. But if we make the get request, as you can see we get body too. So to avoid getting the body but only the headers like content length, what we can do is we can make a head request. So if we make head request, currently we get content length 0 and it says method not allowed. So we need to configure this head request. We need to allow this head request so that we can get the size of file even before downloading files. So for that we can install auto response head auto head response plugin, as well as for serving content partially we can add partial content plugin as well. So for that we can move to version catalog file within this Gradle package, and we can simply duplicate this line, and for partial content we can say partial content. We can copy this and we can replace this by partial content. Also for auto head response we can say auto head response, and simply we can add it over here as well. So now we can move to build Gradle file and duplicate this line, and we can say now let's sync the project. Now to install this plugin we can move to this plugin package, and let's configure auto head response. It will be file. We can simply create an extension function, and similarly we can copy and paste it over here, partial content, and over here we can say configure partial content, and within install we'll pass partial content. Now we can simply install this within this application module, and we can say configure partial content and configure auto head response. Now if we rerun our application, now if we try to make our head response, now we are not getting any data for this video file, but we are simply just receiving this. So using this content length header, we can show the length of file without having to download the file. Dive into updating the response status code. So we can simply create a route, let's say status. One way to respond the status is using within the respond we have status parameter, so we can pass the status over here. So there is one more way to pass the status using call dot response dot, and we can say status, and let's say status code dot. Okay, so if we try this out, we can simply say status status, and as you can see we get 200 like we have set over here. Now what about defining the custom status? So let's try the custom status as well. So let's say custom status, we can simply say call dot response dot status and say http status. Now within here we can pass the integer. So let's say we have we want to define 413, let's say, and we have defined 413 for custom error status. If now we quickly rerun our application, we say custom status. If we hit this, now you can see we have 413 with this description, custom error status. So this way we can even return custom status code. Now let's move to the headers. So let's create a path headers. We can set the response header using call dot response dot headers dot append. One way, by using this headers like dot append, within this headers we can append, and let's suppose we want to add a e tag. Now if we quickly rerun our application, headers, and if we respond, here you can see the e tag and the value that we have defined here. So there are few more ways, like for e tag we can also do something like call dot response dot. We can also use this header, and we can say http header dot e tag and give some random value. If we quickly rerun our application, we should be able to see e tag two times, since we are appending twice. Now for certain headers we even have some more functions, like we can also use something like call dot response dot e tag, and we can give the value. This way we don't need to pass this one. So for certain standard headers we have functions like e tag. We also have something like link. So if we now quickly try this out, we can see the third e tag. Now let's suppose we want to add a custom headers. So for the custom headers we can use call dot response dot header, and we can give in the name of our header. So let's say custom header, and for value let's say my custom header value. So now if we quickly rerun our application, we can see our custom header and the value my custom header value. So now you can notice one more error, like we see 404 not found. So why is that? So if you see, we are just updating the header but we are not responding anything. So in case if we don't respond anything, by default Ktor will send 404 not found. So to avoid such error, we need to make sure that we return at least a status code as a response. So what we can say, call dot respond http status code dot OK. Now if we hit, the errors is gone. So that's it for the headers part. Now let's suppose we want to set some cookie. So let's create one more path. Let's say cookies, and we can set the cookies in response using call.response.cookies, and we can simply append. And let's say new cookie, and for value new cookie value. So now let's also return some response so that we don't get 404. If we give a path cookies and if we send, then you can see this set cookie. It has the key that we set, the new value, the new key, as well as the cookie value over here. Now within this cookie as well, this was something that I added earlier. Now this is the new ones, the recently ones that we added, new cookie, and the value is new cookie value. So for this cookies part, we'll be going in much detail in our sessions video. So for now, just understand that using the response cookie and append, we can append the cookie in the response. Let's suppose we want to redirect from one endpoint to another. So for that, let's create a new route. Let's say redirect, and within body we can simply say call dot respond redirect, and we can give the path. So now let's create a path where we want to get redirected. So let's create a path moved, and we can simply say respond with text. Let's say redirected to moved route. Now if we make the request to this endpoint, will be redirected to this one and get this response. So let's quickly try this out. And let's redirect, and if we hit, we want to be navigated to this route. So what we can say, we can simply paste it over here. Now let's quickly rerun our app. Now if we send, we see success, but we don't see the body. So the reason is we are making the head request. As we discussed, in head request we get content length but not the body. So we can fix this by changing it to get. Now if we make request, we were in redirect route but now getting response from moved route. So we can even pass permanent equals true for permanent redirection. I guess that should be it. So let's quickly recap. So first we checked how can we respond simple text. Then we moved to how can we respond with JSON objects. Then we checked how can we stream the files. Similarly, adding content disposition header, we we're able to download the file instead of streaming. Also using this path of, we were able to stream and download the file. Also we discuss about custom and predefined status code. Similarly we checked different ways to append headers in response. Also we got introduced to setting cookie in response. Similarly we checked how can we redirect from one route to other. So that's it for this video. In the next video, we'll be discussing about serving static content in Ktor. So until then, thanks for watching and happy coding.